Good evening, coming to you from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. This is Insight right here on Look Up TV. We've got you covered on all matters, politics, and of course, peace campaigns across the country as the August 9th elections draws even closer. We have all those stories and much more in our bulletin tonight, but first, let's take a look at the highlights.
Headlines in association with
Insight, factual and timely.
Raila has maintained at 42%, which means that he's now leading.
On the Insight tonight, State House race gaining momentum. Raila flows Ruto in the latest InfoTrack polls by 42% as Ruto downplays the findings.
Vitu zimepanda, uchumi ndio wa Chinkundi hao wamekuja tu ni kama wamekuja kutembea mguu huku bana. Wanafaa rudi kwao tufanye hii kazi.
Kenyans want an affordable cost of living, InfoTrack research reveals. 4 presidential candidates, those cleared by the IEBC as presidential candidates, to get 10 police officers as bodyguards. And off the hook, Mirima murder suspect Dennis Kairani set free as ODPP finds no connection with the dramatic shooting.
Yippee! Kamata floating at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optivent's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Once more, welcome to the broadcast. The hashtag is Insight right here on Look Up TV, and you can catch this live stream across all our social media platforms at Look Up TV on Twitter, Look Up TV on Facebook, and Look Up TV on our YouTube channel. The broadcast begins now. The latest research findings by InfoTrack Institute show if elections were to be held today, Azimio One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga would emerge victorious with 42% of the total votes cast, while his fierce competitor William Ruto would come second with 38%. The findings, however, reveal the elections would go for a rerun, as none of the candidates in this year's polls would garner 50+1% threshold to win in the first round, as our reporter Henry Tende expounds.
Mimi ninaonekana mtu ya kuibiwa kura kweli.
As campaigns for the coming general elections intensify, recent figures from InfoTrack Research Institute have placed Azimio One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga ahead of the pack in the race for presidency. The Azimio Supremo leads countrywide in popularity, followed closely by Deputy President William Ruto in a race that is shaping out as the most hotly contested in the history of Kenya.
After the decision was made on running mates, we see Raila maintaining at 42%. Currently, but Ruto has gone down. So his percentage is now at 38%. This probably tells us that the decision on running mate has worked to the disadvantage of one party, but has not significantly, as would have been expected yet, incrementally increased the popularity of another party.
InfoTrack data shows both William Ruto and Raila Odinga enjoy popularity ratings in more than 24 counties required by law to be declared president.
He will be leading in 20 counties, and indeed he would have 25% popularity in 37 of the 47 counties. Ruto, with his 38% currently, would then garner 8.4 million votes. He would be leading in 16 counties. He would also have 25% popularity in 38 of the 47 counties. So what this says is they already meet the threshold of having 25% in half of the counties.
Raila Odinga enjoys popularity approval in 20 counties, namely Mombasa, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Garissa, Wajir, Marsabit, Mandera, Makueni, Machakos, Kitui, Busia, Kakamega, Vihiga, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira and Nairobi. Ruto, on the other hand, commands popularity ratings in 16 counties that are Laikipia, Embu, Meru, Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyandarua, Tharaka Nithi, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Kericho, Bomet, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi and Baringo. The research figures indicate it will be a political duel which is squared in 11 counties, namely Tana River, Kwale, Lamu, Turkana, Samburu, Nakuru, West Pokot, Narok, Kajiado, Bungoma and Trans Nzoia. According to Infotrack, the recent picking of running mates by the two candidates has had little impact on their popularity ratings.
Has the female vote dynamic therefore changed in terms of the running mates selected? Not as yet. We cannot see it as yet. However, what we do see is that 25% of the female vote currently is undecided.
Infotrack research findings show that if elections were to be held today, no presidential candidate will be able to garner 50+1% to win the presidency in the first round, which calls for intensified campaigns ahead of this year's August elections. Henry Tende, Look Up TV.
Thank you, Tende, for that story. Now, high cost of living and affordable quality healthcare are among the main issues that Kenyans want addressed by the incoming fifth government of Kenya. According to research conducted by Infotrack Research and Consulting Company, most Kenyans feel that inflation and cost of living would be the main campaign agenda for presidential candidates due to the prevailing hard economic times. Senge Suzy with more on this.
As the election campaigns continue to gain momentum with political leaders launching their agendas and manifestos, Kenyans have now come out to highlight a series of issues that should be addressed. According to a research conducted by Infotrack Research Company, the key issues include high cost of living, which took 53%, followed closely by transport and infrastructure, which covered 49%, unemployment covered 44%, 40% for access to clean water. Access to healthcare took 23%, quality education 19%, cost of doing business at 16%, while insecurity, crime and corruption covered 11% and 10% respectively. The research has raised mixed reactions among Kenyans, some of whom concur with the research, saying it is the reality on the ground.
Utafiti naona naagiliana nayo juu kisiasa imeendelea Kenya sana. Watu wamekuwa jaja na wanaelewa mambo mingi sana. Vitu zenye ziko kwa ground zinafanyika. Ukisikia kitu kiabua kwa ground ni different.
Ni kweli mimi nakubaliana nayo. Bora tuchague yule mtu ambaye anatuongoza kwa ukweli na kwa nguvu, sababu hatutaki yule mtu ambaye akiingia kwa kiti yani economy inaweza kurudi chini, tunaanza kuhangaika. Unajua sasa kwanza economy sasa hii tumerudi chini. Maisha sasa hii yani tumehangaika, tunahangaika kabisa. Lakini najua saja Mungu tu atatuokoa, ni Mungu tu atatuokoa.
On the other hand, another section of the common man have dismissed the research, saying the company did not consult them before concluding the research.
Maoni yangu ni kuwa ni uongo kabisa, juu hiyo ni uongo. Wachakuja huku wajue kama ni ukweli ama ni uongo.
Hiyo ni uongo mtupu. Hiyo ni yao. Hiyo ni project pia ya serikali. Achani uongo bana. Kama mmenunuliwa na serikali, hiyo ni yenu na tutambui hiyo.
Ama buda wanatafuta wera, tunatafutia wera, si hatuna wera. Unaona? Unaenda kuvotia mse lakini hawezi kuja kusaidia. Ase tunaweka tu pale lakini bado zile shida zetu zinabaki tu pale. Unaona? Vitu zimepanda, uchumi ndio wachinkundi hao wamekuja tu, ni kama wamekuja kutembea mguu huku bana. Wanafaa rudi kwao tufanye hii kazi. Hakuna kusema ati ama nani.
This comes at a time when the Kenyan economy is off recovering from the severity of the pandemic. Many Kenyans are still complaining about the hiked prices of goods resulting from the high prices of fuel and oil. Senge Suzy, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Senge Susie, and we'd like to pick your thoughts on what the cost of living is like for you and what you'd want addressed most by the incoming government. Remember, we are live streaming across all our social media platforms at Lookup TV, on Twitter, Facebook, and on our YouTube channel. Moving on, Jubilee Party has said that recent InfoTrack poll results putting Azimio coalition candidate ahead of Kenya Kwanza is a clear indication that Kenyans are now able to differentiate truth and lies peddled by UDA for the last 4 years. Addressing a press conference in Nyeri after meeting Jubilee candidates, Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni said that for the last 4 years, UDA has been lying to Kenyans. Hence, when the coalition started its truthful campaigns, all of a sudden, the tide has changed.
Hours after the InfoTrack poll was released, Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni said the shift indicates that there has been a tide change following the intense campaigns that the Azimio coalition is doing across the country.
What's happening is that Kenyans are now waking up and saying, what have we been listening to? So you notice, even if we have our own survey polls that we have done, still telling us different, but look at it. It was 48% just a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, with Ruto and Laila at 42. Now it is Laila at 42, Ruto at 32, at 38%. That tells you Kenyans have decamped from there. And they're asking themselves, where are we heading? This guy has lied to us for long. It is now upon us as Jubilee, as Azimio, as Wiper, and everybody else that is within our formation to harvest from those people who have finally realized that UDA is nothing else. Hakuna kitu kingine.
Kioni said that it is now the time for coalition partners to harvest from this change of fortune and ensure the coalition wins with a landslide.
We are preparing to ensure that the gap between us and them is so wide that everybody, including wale ambao hawaelewi, wataelewa kwamba these guys are wasting our time. We will not allow unnecessary challenge in court. You can always go to court, but the difference between Laila and Ruto will be such that everybody will be seeing that they are wasting our time. That's why we are gradual and we know what to do and when to do it.
Kioni accused UDA of preparing for a petition through complaint correspondence filed with IEBC.
They are looking for how they are going to challenge the win of Laila Amolo Odinga in court. That is why
they're writing letters
Maina, the executive director, wrote a letter to Haji. Is it Haji? Yes. The DPP.
To
NIS. Because they are preparing, they know they have lost the 2022 elections. Now they are preparing to challenge it in court so that they know what we are doing.
The InfoTrack poll placed Raila ahead of Ruto with 42%, while Ruto had 38%, a drop from the last poll conducted by InfoTrack that had the two candidates head-to-head with 42% popularity each. Brian Amuai, Lookup TV.
And as the election approaches, the safety of presidential candidates is one of the issues prioritized by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Following the release of the final list of 4 contestants in the August race, the law dictates that all the 4 candidates and their running mates receive state protection for the period between June 8th until the elections is concluded.
After a lengthy process of vetting the more than 50 Kenyans who showed interest in running for presidency, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has released the final 4 candidates whose names and faces will appear on the August 9th ballot paper. The presidential ballot paper, bearing the names of Raila Odinga, William Ruto, David Wahiga, and Professor George Wajakoya, will be the shortest presidential ballot paper in the history of the country's elections since the return of multi-partyism in 1992.
Down from the 54 candidates who showed interest in this year's general elections, only 18 were shortlisted, and from those, just 4 of them ticked all the boxes to make it to Chebukati's final list.
So what perks come with being on the presidential ballot, and what does the law have to say for Kenyans who enter the much-desired race? Charles Kanjama is a renowned constitutional lawyer in Nairobi.
And because during elections you go into, even you could call it hostile political territory, you engage in a lot of activities that involve the public, and there's a lot of mischief also that goes on from opponents. it is a security risk if you are not careful about your own security, and it is possible for candidates, some candidates, to find that their life has been seriously threatened, their health.
According to Kenya Constitution of 2010, the successful completion of the August 9th general election is heavily dependent on the 4 candidates and their running mates remaining alive and well until a winner is declared and sworn into office.
And so it is in the interest of the government that once you become a presidential candidate or deputy president candidate, they provide with security, because your being alive is critical for the country to transition.
Under Article 138, Clause 8 of the 2010 Constitution, the elections will be cancelled if, among other reasons, any of the 4 contenders or their running mates passes on before the election is concluded.
And in that case, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, will order a fresh election within 60 days.
And if a president-elect dies after the election but before being sworn in, then the election results will be suspended and you'll have a new election within 60 days.
Due to the large amount of resources that the country has invested in this year's general elections, the government will invest in reinforced security and safety of presidential candidates and their running mates, whose well-being between now and August 9th will determine whether the election exercise will be conducted or not. Starting June 8th, Odinga, Ruto, Wahiga and Wajakoya, as well as their running mates, will receive at least 10 police officers to protect them at all times.
From the 10 security officers, 2 officers will man the homes of the candidates and their running mates, both in their city and rural residences, for 24 hours a day. Then 5 officers will trail and follow these candidates and their running mates wherever they go at all times.
The moment you become a presidential candidate or running mate, the security services provide you with security the same way they provide important state officers with security, because you become technically like a state officer. In fact, there are state officers who will die and their death will not have an impact on the country, the way a presidential candidate's death will have an impact on the country.
With the stiff competition that marks the country's election processes, running for political office in Kenya can be dangerous, and not just for presidential aspirants. Recently, Kisii politician Thomas Okari was found dead with stab wounds at his home in Kisii County near Lake Victoria. Azimio One Kenya flag bearer Raila Odinga recently also had his helicopter pelted with stones by supporters of his opponents in Eldoret, prompting a public apology from Deputy President William Ruto. Across the country, in Mombasa, United Democratic Alliance UDA member and local politician Ali Mwatahu survived an attack when unknown gunmen sprayed his vehicle with bullets days before party primaries. Mwatahu is running for Member of Parliament of Mvita, a hotly contested seat in the coastal city.
With taxpayers spending a whopping 44 billion shillings to hire the country's next government in August, the stakes have never been higher, and the security of the top contenders is now a matter of national security. Waris Kimathi, Look Up TV in Nairobi.
Thank you, Aris Kimathi, for shedding some light into what the presidential package is all about and why it is there in the first place. We do have to take a very short break here on Insight, but we'll be back with so much more, including gender-based violence cases that are highest in the Western region.
Factual and timely.
Yippee! Kamata floating at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optivant's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende na nyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Yeah.
Are you looking to turn your passion to purpose? Vera Beauty and Fashion College now brings you online classes at the comfort of your home. We are a TVET-approved institution with over 20 years' experience in training competency-based courses in fashion design and creative arts, cosmetology, hairdressing, beauty therapy, interior design in soft furnishings, event decoration and flower arrangement, hospitality and catering, and training of trainers. To enroll, call us today on 0704 577 577 or visit our website at www.verabeautycollege.com. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a center of excellence.
Help me identify a beautiful womb. I never came across one till I got to Vera.
Welcome to Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we will be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Look Up Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707.
Factual and timely.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Look Up TV. The hashtag is Insight, and this live broadcast is coming to you across all of 47 counties and, of course, across social media at Look Up TV on Twitter, Facebook, and on our YouTube channel. Moving on, with just 62 days to the next general elections, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is scheduled to receive the final audit report from KPMG by 16th June, which will then be followed by a stakeholder engagement on the final register of voters on 17th June. The Commission has postponed the certification of the voter register that was to be set and done by Thursday, June 9th. The IBC said the register was still under audit, and so far the audit firm KPMG has noted anomalies that need to be addressed first.
The Commission has received a preliminary audit report with useful information, including a total of 246,465 deceased voters, 481,711 duplicate records. These are people sharing more than one ID. 226,143 voters registered with IDs that don't validly belong to them. 164,269 registered voters with voter records which have invalid documentation. And these issues must be addressed prior to certification and publication of the register. Previously, the Commission had announced that it would certify and publish the register of voters on or before 9th of June 2022, that's tomorrow. However, due to the implementation of these preliminary audit findings on the register, the Commission has decided to address the findings prior to certifying the register for publication on or before the 20th of June this year. The Commission is scheduled to receive the final audit report from KPMG by 16th of June this year, and there will be a stakeholder engagement on the final register of voters on the 17th of June 2022.
And on the campaign trail, Deputy President William Ruto has pledged to end the extrajudicial killings that has been rampant in the northeastern region of the country. Speaking while addressing a rally in Mandera town, DP Ruto said any person found guilty of any act should be taken to court and not disappear mysteriously.
As the August polls draws closer, Kenya Kwanza are on the run to close the gap of reaching the voter before time fades away. Takbir! 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 Kenya Kwanza Supremo William Ruto leading the first team of Kenya Kwanza to Mandera County in their third day of the northeastern tour, with a cardinal message pleading with the residents to be keen while electing their leaders.
Lazima tuwe waangalifu kabisa kama watu wa Kenya, kwa sababu hii siasa ya madharau na kiburi ya watu wachache lazima tukomeshe kwa hii uchaguzi. Huwezi kuwa na madharau kwa watu wa Mandera, hawafai kuwa na pesa. Ukawa na madharau ati unaita biashara ya watu wengine, sijui ya mkokoteni, sijui bodaboda, ati ni takataka.
Addressing the issue of historical mysterious disappearance that has been widely experienced in the region for long, DP promised that this government will treat each citizen according to providence of the law.
Watu wa Mandera, hii mambo ya ubaguzi, kusemekana ya kwamba mtu wa Mandera ili apate ID ama apate passport ni lazima aulizwe maswali kutoka hapa mpaka South Africa. Mimi nataka niwaambie hakuna uraia mara mbili Kenya. Vile wale wa Kenya wengine wanapatiwa ID na kitambulisho pamoja na passport, lazima watu wa Mandera na wa Somali wapatiwe kitambulisho na ID kama wa Kenya wengine.
Ruto and his allies continues hitting on their opponents, this time criticizing the manifesto recently released by Azimio One Kenya Alliance.
Mimi nataka niwaambie wale wanafanya biashara hiyo ya mtumba, serikali ya Kenya kupitia bottom up tutawaunganisha na TVET ili nyinyi ndio mtaendesha hiyo biashara, na tutawasaidia ili nyinyi ndio muwe investors wa clothing industry katika taifa letu la Kenya, na tuendeshe mpaka iwe textile industry katika taifa letu la Kenya. Mtengeneze mpaka mtengeneze ile madesigner, lakini nyinyi hakuna mtu ataharibu biashara yenu kwa sababu kazi ni kazi.
Hapo wanasema ni hasla. And we are telling Raila Odinga na marafiki zake, wewe, you are not going to close mitumba business. 93% of the people of Kenya, they buy, they sell, they feed their children using the mitumba business.
Away from politics, Mirima Drive murder suspect Dennis Karani Gashoki has been set free by a Makadara court after the prosecution told the court that there is no evidence linking him to the murder. Resident Magistrate Caroline Jagi released Karani unconditionally after the prosecution counsel concluded investigation. Shadrach Kareria with more.
As far as murder charge is concerned,
off the hook. Peter Karani, a principal accused who was arraigned in court for his involvement in Mirima shooting, is a free man. This is after Makandara Law Court resident magistrate Caroline Mudhoni released him unconditionally after the lead prosecution counsel told the court that they have conclusively concluded their investigation into the matter. The court found no evidence to link Karani with Mirima Drive murder. The suspect spent 14 days behind bars pending investigation after the DCI moved to court seeking to detain the suspect for 14 days, claiming he was a main suspect. Karani was in offense of dragging two businessmen and stealing from them money amounting to 1.2 million shillings. Shadrach Kareria, Look Up TV.
And statistics released by National Crime Research Center reveals that Western Kenya region leads in reporting the highest number of gender-based violence cases, while the northeastern region tails the list, recording the least number of cases. Ministry of Health, in its very first gender-based violence prevention and response scientific conference at the Kenya School of Government in Kabete on Wednesday, noted that fighting gender-based violence is a collective responsibility. Charlene Mwende with more details.
A conference that was graced by the Chief Administrative Secretary for Health, Mercy Mwangangi, the main ideology being putting to an end gender-based violence.
The World Health Organization defines GBV as any act of violence meted to an individual based on their gender that results in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering. It includes economic deprivation and isolation, which may cause imminent harm to the safety, health, and well-being of an individual and the society at large.
Traditionally, gender-based violence has for the longest been thought to be a ladies' affair, but Susan Mochache, the Principal Secretary for Health, debunked the proponent, stating that gender-based violence cuts across all borders.
When we think about GBV, think about an individual, a person, and that's a child, it's a woman, it's a man. That man who also will be raped, who will also suffer physical violence, because the issue of men and gender-based violence sometimes is not talked about, but it is within the scope of our discussion.
Also from the research released by the National Crime Research Center, the statistics show that Western Kenya is leading in gender-based violence.
GBV is most common among women living in Western region. That stands at exactly that 7%. Nairobi recorded that 5%, Nyanza that 4%, Eastern 25%, Central 21%, Rift Valley 20%, and Coast 19%, and least common among women in the Northeastern region at 6%.
Kenya will now be enjoying support from the United States of America as well as Finland in curbing gender-based violence cases.
As Finland, we want to find ways of using tech and innovations to address GBV. There are already good examples of this. For example, the Komesha Duluma mobile application here in Kenya. In Finland, the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, together with the Police University College, the one that trains the police officers, a few years ago developed an online course modules for duty bearers for their training in identification and response to GBV.
The administration of President Biden and Vice President Harris have made advancing gender equality and equity a priority. And PEPFAR, the US President's emergency plan for AIDS relief, is increasingly focused on preventing sexual exploitation and abuse as part of the US Embassy in Nairobi's gender-based violence priorities.
The Ministry of Health has now established parameters to mitigate gender-based violence cases, including the launch of documents on prevention and response to gender-based violence-related cases, and to ensure that they are dealt with the gravity they deserve.
The PRC kit, the post-rape kit. One, again, in my discussions with Kizi, in my discussions with magistrates, a tool, again, that's is so fundamental. Revised health facility register, that's the MOH 365. Again, it's going to collect individual level data. It's going to be done daily, again, with regards to GBV care. Training curriculum on the clinical management of sexual and gender-based violence.
Thank you so much. Can we applause?
And a section of youth from Kibra in Nairobi under the Peace Prize Youth Coalition have embarked on a journey to Nakuru to preach peace as the country heads to elections. The walk that started from Nairobi and is expected to end in Nakuru aims at ensuring that every citizen maintains peace before, during and after the general elections. Speaking while embarking on the journey, the group of youth said they are targeting areas listed by the NCAC 2 weeks ago.
We'll also be having our podium. Mkenya, it's high time ajue kwamba yeye ndio mwenye nchi. Because everybody wants peace. Everybody, hakuna mtu wote mwenye hataki peace. But the problem is there's nothing we are doing about it. There's nothing. Tukiingia social media, ka bundle kangu ka 20 shillings. Is there a way naweza nikaikata kadataka 5 bob na niongele about peace. That is the only thing that we want. We want Kenyans to speak. We want the hashtag peace and the hashtag peace print and the hashtag balozi mtaani. Hizo zote ndio zitrend than mwanasiasa.
Na nafurahia sana cause again tunajua place like Kibera ndio place poa sana collect pieces ku bring peace. Cause hata ukiangalia nyuma yako kuna places hata hazijawahi kurenovatiwa since 2007. Hizo ziko hapo juu. That shows bado hiyo scar iko kwa heart za watu. Bado ni kitu, bado kila mtu anaweza, kila wakati watu wanaishi kama wako scared. Place kaa hii Kibera tunai-connect na Nairobi vifiti cause si vijana ndio kutumika virahisi sana maybe kwenda nje na kukosio hizo chaos. But I feel like kama si ndio tunaweza ongea bila influence ya watu wengine wakubwa au wanasiasa.
Very powerful right there, the youth of Kibra doing something that is very instrumental, especially during these times when we preach peace as the elections are approaching. Moving on, the national debt debate is yet again resurfacing after the National Assembly approved a proposal to increase Kenya's debt ceiling to 10 trillion shillings, barely 2 years after they increased it to 9 trillion. According to the chairperson of the National Assembly Committee on Delegated Legislation, the new figure is a compromise after it emerged that the country was just 400 billion shillings shy from the 9 trillion shilling ceiling set less than 2 years ago. Cecilia Lubanga now explains what this decision means for both the next government and the common person.
Members of Parliament on Tuesday increased the public debt ceiling to 10 trillion as a stopgap measure that will allow the next government to borrow 846 billion more in order to inject into the budget deficit of the coming financial year that starts in July. The debt ceiling was initially capped at 9 trillion after the National House agreed to the Treasury's proposal to have the law requiring debt to be set at 50% of the gross domestic product scrapped. Majority Leader Amos Kimunya argues that the next government will be in a tight spot to finance the 2022-2023 budget if the public debt is capped at 50%, hence the need to increase it to 55% of the GDP. So why is Kenya increasing its debt ceiling yet again?
They have increased it to 10 trillion. And the reason they're doing that is they have to comply with the law. For them to borrow more, the limit has to go up. Otherwise, they would be in breach of the law while borrowing. That is put plainly. Our national budget is about 3 trillion, give or take. Because right now, because of the model we are pursuing, we have to borrow.
This recent debt adjustment comes on the back of Kenya Revenue Authority surpassing its revenue targets for the first half of the financial year 2021-2022 after collecting 976.6 billion against a target of 929.1 billion attributed to improving economic performance after a tough COVID-19 pandemic season, a factor that prompted Treasury to increase the targets for the taxman for the current financial year. With the Treasury looking to get a green light from the Senate to enter the market for another loan to fill the 846 billion deficit in the 2022-2023 budget, this move couldn't come at a worse time as heightened global inflation has prompted the international leaders to increase interest rates to counter the effect of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. What is the expected impact of this increase?
For us to pay, we must have those dollars in the first place. So we either have remittances from diaspora, or we export enough to be clear. And I'm telling you, the deal is about 1.2 trillion a year in Kenya shillings. The falling shilling against the dollar, it has the impact of increasing our debt without us borrowing more. So those are some of the things that are working against us. In terms of the debt service, the solution has always been and will always be, we need to restructure those debts so that they have better terms, that we pay less per year, because Kenya is a sovereign nation and is a body corporate. So there's no hurry to pay those debts. We can pay them in one of 100 years. The solution will eventually come down to, can we reduce the debt repayment from 1.2 trillion to maybe 500 or 400 billion, so that we pay less per year, so that we have more money to do other things.
Despite 55% being in line with international standards for a lower middle-income economy such as Kenya, whether the allowance to borrow more will be injected into the Envision project is still a subject of debate. Cecilia Lubanga, Look Up TV.
And the government has assured the country that it will not interfere with the internet or the election transmission ahead of the August polls. According to Cabinet Secretary for Interior Fred Matiang'i, the state respects the democracy and the freedom of expression and speech. These and other stories in our county roundup.
Security in terms of the CIIs.
The government has assured the country that it will not interfere in the election transmission during the August polls. Speaking in Naivasha, Cabinet Secretary Interior Fred Matiang'i has mentioned cyber insecurity as one of the challenges facing many countries.
I think now is the time, even for us in the security sector, to build heavily internal capacities to deal with cyber security challenges. Our Criminal Investigations Department, our National Police Service, our National Intelligence Service, our Kenya Defence Forces. Now is the time for us to invest heavily in cybersecurity, because the danger and the challenge next time is going to be in the cyberspace. We must be prepared, we must be ready to fight in that cyberspace in defense of our country and protect our country's integrity, as it were.
In other news, security operators in Garissa County have urged the local youth to take advantage of the Kazi Mtaani program. Speaking during the launch of the program, Garissa Deputy County Commissioner Solomon Komen has urged the residents to grab such opportunities. In Kisii County, Women Caucus, which also include female aspirants, have condemned all sorts of violence against women. The women have also said that they need an equal playing field against their male counterparts.
We have come out to condemn any political violence that will be brought in Kisii. 2, we have agreed that we will work in peace, we will work in harmony with everybody. And 3, we have agreed that our men counterparts should also work in peace with us.
And the Ministry of Education, in partnership with the Ministry of Defense, is still pursuing the 100% transition of students from primary to high school. According to reports, 294 students have yet to join secondary schools in Bungoma County. Simon Nabukwesi, who has been in the front row campaigning for the 100% transition, has said that he will ensure every child who starts for KCPE transitions to secondary school. Bellamy Boston, Look Up TV.
Fight through the streets of
Time now for some light stories with our sporting action. All Africa University Games entered day 3 at Kenyatta University. On the 10,000 meters, Uganda dominated Dismas Yeko, winning the race. The local universities, however, suffered defeat as Ethiopia won the 1,500 meters. Our reporter Marion Kageni with more.
For women's football side, Kenyatta University registered a great performance, silencing American University Cairo 3-0, with Grace Wekesa scoring a brace as Daisy Orwa added a goal to make it 3. However, the visitors from other universities outside the country dominated in athletics, with Yeko clocking 29 minutes, 12 seconds and 1 millisecond in the men's 10,000 meter race. Kenyatta University's Emmanuel Ngeno came in second, finishing in 30 minutes, 27 seconds, 8 milliseconds, while William Amponsa, hailing from the University of Education in Ghana, finishing third, clocking 31 minutes, 20 seconds and 9 milliseconds. On the women's side, Ethiopia's Tenebeb Neighbor from Addis Ababa University finished top in the women's 1,500 meter race. Nega took the lead in 4 minutes, 25 seconds, 15 milliseconds, past Simone Wetz of Chwale University. Nega took the lead in 4 minutes, 25 seconds and 15 milliseconds, past Simone Wetz of Chwale University of Technology in South Africa, who clocked 4 minutes, 27 seconds, 94 milliseconds, as University of Johannesburg's Wellman Kuna came in third in 4 minutes, 32 seconds, 35 milliseconds.
She expects after this competition
she elected for the FASU, and I would like to go to China international FASU competition.
Marion Kageni, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Marion Kageni, for that story. 2 games were played yesterday in UEFA Nations League. Germany, playing it at Allianz Arena, settled on a 1-1 draw with England. The Azuris hammered Hungary 2-1, and the UEFA Nations League continues tonight with 2 games playing. Belgium playing Poland, while first-time World Cup qualifiers Wales playing Netherlands.
E os Trapalhões acabaram travados por único golo num penalti.
Armando, número 16 de central, que progride pelo corredor com a bola controlada e que fecha.
Alemanha com Hoffmann na cara do guarda-redes para marcar e atira para.
Flying through the streets of Jubilee Party.
Right, and those sports stories bring us to a close here on Insight. But before I go, I'll be sampling some of your feedback, which is very valuable to us. James King says, is InfoTrack really down on the ground? With 3 question marks right there. He says their data Kwanza on the coast of Living feels shaky. Just my thoughts. Wakuje Eastlands Wajione, watching from Kasarani Mwiki. Thank you so much for your feedback.